Welcome. My name is Elizabeth Doomboard, and I'm a writer and a mom, and I have another writer mom here with me today. Oh, bless you.
Sorry, the sneeze. It was
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, need to change that. I'm writing mom Samantha Nasset. On my channel, I talk about writer things, parent things, and writer parent things. I also usually make videos on Wednesdays, but I'm taking another health hiatus this month, maybe to the end of April, because I have a doctor's appointment at the beginning. So we'll see how that goes. I have a newsletter where you can keep up to date with all things Sam that you can check out on my website at samanthaalnasset.com. And I think that's everything.
Nice. You seem to have that intro so down pat. I always get so anxious whenever I start, and I'm just like, God, what do I say? Even though I have it all written down for I just totally blank whenever things happen.
The secret is I just kind of go on autopilot sometimes, and then I have a mental checklist. So it's like the beginning's autopilot, and then I start writing down the mental checklist.
All right. So people can feel free to ask questions as we go, and we'll probably get to any other questions at the end, but I have a massive list. We're going to be going for an hour, and then we'll take a half-hour break, and then we're going to jump over to Samantha's channel. Do you like to be called Sam or Samantha?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Because, I've watched a bunch of your YouTube videos, and then I'm like, oh, I can totally call her Sam, and then calling you Sam, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if that's okay.
So in a weird way, calling me Samantha is slightly more, it's more intimate and not at the same time. Like, people who don't know me will sometimes default to Samantha because they're just like, that's her name, and I'm okay with that. But then the only people who are friends with me who call me Samantha are my family. Everybody else just calls me Sam. So it's I don't know, it's a weird thing. I just, whatever feels most comfortable for you, because I know some people will default to one or the other.
Okay,
And
I might jump back and forth, so I'm sorry if I do, because I don't know.
care.
I
go by both of them, so
yeah. For me, most of my family now call me Liz because I've been going by that since I don't know 2009 or something, so long. And then now all of my online handles are Eliza, and so people start calling me Eliza, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds weird, but I like it.
I have 8,000 nicknames. So there's Sam, Sammy, Sammy's Mule, Samantha, Sam, or Samantha Lynn, Sammy Lynn. Somebody called me Mantha for a while.
Oh.
I don't prefer that one, but I was like, well, that's a new one, so that's good. I also, non-name related nicknames. My best friend Fox, he'll any day of the week he'll call me Maria, Fayechild, Ego, Drama Queen. Sometimes just you. So, and that, so it's just sometimes it's name related, sometimes it's just whatever. Yeah. Ancient immortal deity of unknown origin.
Alright. Okay, so because we have a time crunch and I have, for some reason, a bajillion questions, we're gonna just jump right into it. Well, I guess not really jump right into it because we kind of went off track already, but okay. So our first question is, how do you balance writing and parenting?
Oh, see, the answer is I don't. Or at least I didn't. I didn't for a very long time. I actually wrote for a while, and then I took a hiatus until my youngest started preschool, which, and then when she started preschool, I got back into writing as a career. During the intermittent, I did work on some writing projects, like the New York Midnight City contest. I don't know, it's a New York Midnight contest. You can Google it. But that one, they have 4 different contests throughout the year. One short story, one's flash fiction, one's screenwriting, one's script writing, and I would participate in the short story and the flash fiction ones. And that would be to just keep my skills from rusting, because writing is a skill. So like any skill, if you don't practice it, you lose things. And so that's what I would do. Or I also kept a character blog for a while that I would write once a month and then twice a month. So I did little things like that, little short things, so that I could keep up with my writing and my skills sharp.
How old are your kids now? Is it
They
just
are.
one or multiple?
I have 3.
Okay.
So they are 9, 7, and 6 right now. They will be 10, 8, and 7 by the end of the year. Now my kids are the priority 90% of the time, but when I need to focus on writing or doing YouTube videos or something, my husband will just take care of the kids on his days off or when he gets home. Or on the rare occasion, my sister will come over and I'll be like, I really need to do this thing. And then she'll sit with the kids for a while.
That's nice. Nice. Okay. Next question. What does a typical day look like in your household? So just like on average.
So that's so hard to answer.
Yeah,
So
I
right
know.
now, they have virtual school. So Monday
Mhm.
through Friday. My husband's job is kind of weird. So he'll have 2 days off, 3 days at work, 3 days off, 2 days at work, 2 days off, and so like he could work Friday through Sunday or he could be home Friday through Sunday. So when he's home, he handles the kids' virtual school, and when he's at work, I handle the kids' virtual school. But on those days, I get up at 8, I get the kids ready, feed them breakfast, get them set up on the computer. I can't do a whole lot while they're at virtual school because I have to like be right there in case their teachers need anything or their computers malfunction or something. Sometimes I try to get the laundry done. Sometimes I pick up. Most of the time right now, I have chronic migraines, so I just kind of like try to forget that I exist because I just don't feel good. But I can also sometimes I can get a script or 2 done or some writing done while they're in school, but that's not really normal. That's like the good day.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids just went back to school, like I think last month. And so we did all of January was online schooling, and oh my gosh, it was so hard just dealing with all of that. And like I got no writing done at all that month, which was really difficult because all I wanted to do was write, and then I had to like help the kids and stuff. So I know how that feels, but
Oh
only
yeah,
for
and
a
then
short period of time.
like from noon to 3 is just homework. And for me,
Yeah.
that's me and juggling 3 of them doing homework. So, how many do you have?
I have 3 as well, but only 2 of them are in school. So my youngest is 2.5. My middle just turned 6 today, actually, and my oldest turned 7 back in December. Yeah.
Oh,
So
excuse me.
I only had to bounce between 2 of them, but one is in senior kindergarten, so like his homework wasn't quite as bad, but he still needed like a lot of help. And then the other one, my 7-year-old he's in grade 2, and he just constantly he didn't want to be there. Like during the video calls, he would be crying and whining, saying he didn't want to be there. But like doing the
Aw.
actual homework, he was fine. Like he was fine to just hang out with me and do it. So I don't know. Okay. Enough
It's all
about
right.
me though. This is about
That's
you.
that's a young age to do the Zoom
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah, he didn't like it. Like my kindergarten, my grade, yeah, my kindergarten kid. I was about to say my grade 6, but he's 6 years old. My 6-year-old, he loved the video calls. Like he absolutely adored them. But
That's so opposite from my 6-year-old because so she went to pre-K. The way they did pre-K is the actual elementary school hosted her pre-K class. So she really wanted to go to school even when her brothers were in school, and she got a taste of it. And so now she'll straight up tell me that she's not going to school right now, that like the virtual school is not real school. And her teacher and I think that some days she gets rebellious, and so she'll purposely not pay attention to class, or she'll start doing other things because to her it's just not real school, and so she hates it. But like she still enjoys doing the calls. I think she's just like, oh yeah, this is fun, but it's not school, mom, and I want to go to
yeah,
school. So
Yeah, it's hard because like the younger kids really enjoy being around all their classmates, right? And around all the people. Yeah. Whereas my
well, at least
7-year-old my 7-year-old hates it. Like he doesn't like going to school. He has like mini anxiety attacks every time I get him to school, and he's just like, I don't want to go, and he starts like crying and freaking out, and I'm like, you're fine, it's just school, it's only a couple hours, you can handle it, you got this.
yeah. I think age is a factor and personality, because my 9-year-old and my 6-year-old definitely prefer going to school. But my 7-year-old, if he could just do school at home on the computer for the rest of his life, he'd probably be pretty happy. He'd be down.
Yeah, like
He
I think
doesn't like going to school.
yeah, I think if my 7-year-old could do school without the video calls, he would be in heaven. He would love it.
It's like, if I could just turn the video part out and everybody could just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Asynchronous Days, which is basically when they just get the assignments and the teachers will either pre-record lessons or they just have the instructions on the assignments. And those are his favorite days, because he's like, he finishes his homework in less than 2 hours and then he's free for the day. So
Yeah.
he's like, those are his favorite.
Yeah. My 6-year-old, so his teacher sends all of the assignments like in the morning, and then he just does them all right away because they're just like PowerPoint, like there's a couple little games and stuff. And so he does those, and then by the time like the first video lesson conference call thingy starts, he's already done all of his homework. He's like, well, what do I do now? I'm like, I don't know, go play until the next one, I guess. Whereas like my 7-year-old, his teacher would post everything live, like at the time it's supposed to happen. And so like we'd be sitting there by the computer like, okay, what's the next thing? Like just waiting anxiously, and it just was not fun. Yeah. Okay. What age, in your opinion, was the easiest, best, most fun, like your favorite age that your children were at?
I don't have one.
No?
No. And I probably won't have one until they're adults, because I have a very much, hold on. Michael, help your short sister. Because you're short. Sorry, I have a snack cabinet and they each have their own little box that is like, those are their snacks. And my 6-year-old was like trying to jump to get hers. And I'm like, child, your brother is right there. He is several inches taller than you. But yeah, I'm not as sentimental about certain things as the stereotype mom should be. So like for me, I like the baby stages, but like I'm not gonna go back and redo them. I do not get baby fever if I'm holding somebody else's baby. I just appreciate that baby, because like each stage has their ups and their downs. So I'm very much into appreciating the stage that they are at. And for me, I'm like, this is how I'm going to get the most enjoyment and happiness out of being a mom. For me, it's just focusing on the stage that they are at. And I believe it gets easier as they get older. So far, every time that they get older, things get easier. New and other problems or challenges present themselves, but it's still like they're not as difficult. For me, I do like realize, from my perspective, I have 3 children and there is 3 years between my oldest and my youngest. And then I have the one in the middle. So like teething stages were oldest teething, middle teething, youngest teething. It was like back to back to back. So like, and right now, our daughter, she's just getting to an age where she can do a lot more by herself, but there's still a lot that she can't. Like the microwave, she can't do, because 1, she's too short, and 2, she doesn't fully understand how oatmeal works. She has burnt the oatmeal once or twice. But our oldest, who's 9, like if he knows that I'm resting in the room because I don't feel good, and one of his siblings says that they're hungry, he'll just make them food now. And it's like, that's great. He can work the microwave. He can do a lot of the things. Not the stove yet, though. But that's largely because our stove was broken for a year and a half. And we just got a new one finally. So I might start teaching him some simple things on that. But
nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it changes all the time for me. Like I remember when my oldest was, I think, 2, and I was like, "Oh, I love the newborn stage," because I was like, I was expecting a baby at that point. Like I was expecting my second, and just by like I was like so excited, I guess, and I was like, "Oh, I love the newborn stage," and then like after the baby was born, I was like, "No, I don't love the newborn stage," and then like and then they started getting older, and then when my middle child was 3, I was like, "Oh, I love babies," and then my daughter was born, and so, like, I feel like anytime I was expecting a baby, I was like, "Oh, I love the baby stage," and then it happened, and I was like, "Oh, not so much," and
I
then,
read
like,
it.
just having her, like, grow up, I'm like, "Oh, I'm so excited for, like, this stage," and then it happens, and I'm like, I remember it being all the good times and not so much the bad times, and then she goes through the bad times, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that happened too, didn't it?"
I read somewhere that was like uh parents will sometimes romanticize stages in their brain in order, or and it's a survival thing, so that we'll keep wanting more kids, that if like we remembered things how they were, we might not have multiple. And I'm like, I don't think I do that, because I'm just like, yes, I remember the challenges, there were fun times too, but
Yeah.
also so
Yeah. And I think part of the issue too was like so my oldest for the first few months of his life he was in the hospital cuz he had heart surgeries and stuff. And so that like whole newborn stage is like I totally forgot what it was like because of that. And so when my second came along I was like, "Oh wow, this is very different." And then kind of when the third one was there, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is what things are like." Because I kept going back to that like hospital time, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he'll just like sleep all day and be like," yeah, no, that's not what happens.
no,
Okay, so we're moving out of the parent questions and into the kind of self-publishy questions. So,
okay.
what were some things that surprised you about self-publishing when you self-published your? Was it a duology that you did, or was it a
No,
trilogy?
I did 2 books, a
Just
book
two
1 and
books?
a book 2.
Okay.
Nothing, because I heavily researched. I'm not saying no, my research was good. I heavily researched the market at the time, and I used all of the currently available resources, but that was like in 2001 or
Mm.
2011. It's 2011. I was 11 in 2001. It was in 2011. So there wasn't a ton of resources available back then. Not like there are now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't really surprised by anything, but that's because I like heavily researched all the things. And I had already been writing and sharing my work online since I was 11 or 12. So it's like feedback, positive, negative feedback. I was already used to that. And
Mhm.
yeah, I just.
Okay. Yeah, I because I remember watching the video you did about your books that you
Unpublished.
self-published and then you unpublished them. I think it was a recent video. Um, but I remember you saying that you didn't get them edited or you didn't get like a professional editor or something.
No, okay, so I went through critique stages, I went through beta stages before I even really knew that that was a thing that other people did, because as a kid, I always had that like dream that one day I would have an editor and my editor would be with me from beginning to end. But then I decided to self-publish, and I'm like, that's not a thing in self-publishing. Tear. But my husband was he was getting his English degree at the time, and I had him go through and look through it because I was very young and very full of myself. And so I didn't even edit it according to what he told me to edit it, because I was all like, no, it's style, or it's like this, or there's a reason it's like that. And so it was, yeah, I was just very bullheaded about the edits and everything. So, and that was really the only negative part of my reviews too, was just that it wasn't professionally edited. So I was like, motherfucker. But yeah, I unpublished them because they were not the best I could do at the time. Otherwise, I would have just left my shame up for the world to see. But I was like, it wasn't representative of 21-year-old Sam's writing skill, so had to go.
Yeah. That kind of leads us into the next question, which is what would or wouldn't you do again? And I guess the would or
Editor.
what you would do would be to like hire editors and stuff, right?
Yes, I would hire an editor.
Yeah.
And I did pay for original artwork for the covers and everything. And I think the covers were designed fairly well. So, but I would hire a professional cover designer this time. But that's like pretty much it. I don't think I did a terrible job. I just, like I said, it wasn't what I could have done at the time. So it wasn't something I could look back and say, yes, no, that was the best that I could do. So that's the only reason I undid it. Otherwise, no, I think I did everything. Because like I said, I had critique partners and I had betas. The only thing is I didn't get a professional editor. And covers can always be redone later.
Yeah. Fair enough. So this isn't a question on my list, but something I just randomly thought of. Did you use KDP? Oh, geez, what is happening? Oh, sorry. I was getting a call on my computer. So did you use only KDP or did you use, I think it was CreateSpace at the time?
Yes, it was CreateSpace at the time.
Did you use both of those or just the one?
Well, CreateSpace was connected to KDP, if memory serves. That was like 9 years ago. So yes, I went through both. I also Nook Press for having it on the Nook. What was the other one? There was CreateSpace, KDP, Nook Press, and I think there was one more, and I'm blanking on it. But they were like all distribution centers. So I uploaded all the same files and stuff.
Nice. Do you have any? Oh my goodness, go away. Sorry. Do you have any projects in the works currently that you plan on self-publishing?
So many, everything, because now I'm like, I have control issues. So I'm just like, I get to controls it all. Right now, I'm going through, I have a short story, Not For Her, which I will publish on my website. I have a short story that I'm going to write about from a villain's point of view that I'm going to enter into Sasha Black's Rebel Diaries, I think it's called. She's putting together an anthology for short stories from villain points of view. And I'm like, yes, I want to do that. So I'm going to try that. My novel, The Silver Heir. Well, The Silver Heir is the name of the series. The first book doesn't currently have a working title. I just call it Fuck If I Know Yet, or Ficky. And that one is about, there's 3 revolving character perspectives. The primary one, so who I consider the main character, is Nova. And she is from a culture that, like, she's the Silver Heir, so she's the princess of her people. And then, but she bodyguards the princess of another kingdom. And, like, the reason that is some culture and lore stuff that will be explained in the novel. But then, like, war is invented by my bad guy. And so they're like, her kingdom is almost completely destroyed, and then the princess who she's guarding's kingdom is almost destroyed, and now she has to decide, well, do I save my people? Do I help her reclaim her people? And it's her cousin is her bodyguard, again, because of world building lore stuff. And so his whole thing is just, I'm just here to make sure you don't die. That's my purpose in life. So whatever you want to do, Nova, that's what we'll do. And then the third perspective is actually my antagonist, his son, who's just like, what do you mean you raised me to conquer a world, Dad? That wasn't on my to-do list. Hold up. So he's going to be like a double spy.
Ooh.
Well, not really a double spy, but yeah. Find out in the book.
Do you have a like a plan for when you want to have that done by and like out in the world and stuff, or just kind of
the outline by the end of this year?
Oh, nice. So it's still like really early stages.
Oh yes. I
Yeah.
actually on my website, you can go to, which is samanthaalnasset.com. There's a project page where you can click the silver air, and I have progress bars on the
Oh,
bottom, so you can see where I am in the publishing process.
nice.
But no,
I
I'm
love it.
still.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm still, like I said, I'm still in the stage where my kids are 90% of the priority. So as far as my like career writing, I'm just trying to build a platform and a readership. That way, once I do finally get it published, excuse me, I'm trying not to burp. But once I do get it published, I'll have people who want it. And in the
Mhm.
meantime, I'll put out a short story here and there for people to
Nice.
enjoy.
Nice. Yeah, I love it when authors put like that little progress bar on their projects. I keep wanting to do it, but I keep forgetting. Like on my website, I'm just like, oh, I really want to do that because it looks so cool, and just like to keep people up to date and stuff. And then I forget, and then someone mentions it, or I see it on someone else's site, and I'm like, oh, I should do that, and then I just never add it to my to-do list, and then I don't do it.
Yeah.
um,
My
oh,
site's designed by my best friend Fox because he does that for a living. And I was just like, so how much would it cost? And he's like, don't you worry about it. What do you need? And I was like, oh,
aw,
yes, thank you.
that's so nice.
But
So
he
the
does,
next question is, would you ever consider traditional publishing?
probably not.
No?
Not unless they like came at me with a really huge chunk of cash and were like, we want you to write this concept. I'd be like, all right, let's go. That's it.
Yeah. I know. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like part of me wants to try traditional publishing, but the other part of me is like, but then I can't control everything that I want to have control of. Like what if they make a cover that I don't like, or like the title, I don't like the title or something, you know? Like
Like, right, I gotta come in already with the big. I gotta come in already with the big sales and everything to have any say. But like,
yeah.
if I'm coming in with the big sales, what do I need you for? Name brand? I'm my own
Yeah.
name brand.
Okay, so we have like 3 minutes left. So if anyone wants to ask questions, they can leave them in the comments. Hello
Uh,
to our 2 viewers. So I'm just gonna go through like kind of my
we
bonus
have
questions.
we have 33 minutes left.
Do we?
Yeah.
No, because we were gonna do that half-hour break, right?
But
Because you're sure that
if we stop in 2 minutes, it would be a whole hour break. We don't start until the
would it?
7 my time, 8 your time.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so definitely do questions because I only have 3 left. Okay. For some reason, I thought we were doing like out like. Oh my
Well,
gosh. For some
if
reason, I
we
thought that
do,
we started at 6
I
and
have
that,
so many. I
oh
can give
man.
you some.
Well, that's good at least. So, kind of my bonus questions were more about like dyslexia because that's something that you talk about on your YouTube channel. And I was like, oh, that
All the
sounds
time.
interesting. Um, so, what is one of the hardest things about being a parent with dyslexia? Like, how does it affect your parenting and stuff?
Really, not my parenting. Like, there's some mom guilt there because dyslexia can be genetic. So I'm always like hyper vigilant. Like, are they also dyslexic? So like, my mom's dyslexic. Both of my sisters are also dyslexic. My grandfather's dyslexic. At least 2 out of the 3 of my mom's siblings are dyslexic, if I remember right. I know for sure my oldest uncle is the younger 2. I don't know 100% sure. So like, and there's 3 different ways you can get dyslexia, and one is hereditary. So I'm like, there's a very high chance that my children will also be dyslexic. So I'm always trying to look for that because I didn't know I was dyslexic until in my early 20s. And
Mm,
I know that it heavily affected how my self-esteem in school and stuff, because there's like a point where I remember my dad who is not dyslexic, trying to help me do math in middle school, and I felt really stupid and just really dumb because I just could not do math the way that he was trying to teach me, which was the way that my teacher was teaching. And then my papa came home and he like looked at it and he was like, "Well, mule," which is what my grandfather calls me. And he showed me how he does it, and I was like, "Oh wait, I can do it that way." And so it's like now, if the kids are dyslexic, I want to give them those resources and everything that I didn't get because I didn't know I was dyslexic. And yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't really change anything with parenting. I imagine when they're teenagers, it may get me because one of my symptoms is word replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I was talking to my sister just a few days ago because she came to help me build my cabinet since I haven't been feeling well. And I said something, and whatever I said, it was the exact opposite of what I meant. And that's a
Oh,
big
no.
thing when I'm typing too. I'll write should instead of shouldn't. Or like, oh, the one that I can remember for sure is I was whining to Fox and to Chris, and I was all like, "Man, I made a sandwich and I ate some soup and I'm not exhausted." And they were both like, "Yay!" And what I had intended to say was, "I'm now exhausted." And I'm like, "What do you mean, yay? I'm exhausted. I shouldn't be exhausted for making a sandwich." And then I went back and I reread it, and I was like, "I see where I fucked up." But it's like in the moment, I think I'm writing or I think I'm saying the one I mean, but I'm not. It's the opposite
Mhm.
of what I mean. So I'm like, I'm that meme and I hate it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So dyslexia, it affects like so reading and like I guess speech, like just word replacements and
Dyslexia dyslexia is known as a developmental disorder for reading specifically. That's like how it's defined, that's how it's diagnosed and everything. But what it is it basically means that my brain is not wired the same way. I used to say it's kind of wired backwards. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's how it feels some days. So it's just any information I process differently than other people. So yeah, it can affect reading, it can affect speaking, it can affect hearing. It can even affect like thinking to an extent. Like there's sometimes when I'm writing, I will write something in a backwards syntax, kind of like Yoda would speak. And to me, it makes perfect sense. But like Fox or somebody will read it and they'll be like, "Sam, I don't think that says what you want it to say." And I'm like, "Well, what does that say to you?" And that's the important thing is I have to be explained how everybody else is perceiving it so that I can fix it, which
Mhm.
is why I can't have critique partners who get puffy when I'm like, "Well, what do you mean by this?" Because then they're all like, they assume that I'm attacking them. And I'm like, "Nah, bitch, I'm dyslexic. I need to know what you mean by this so that I
Yeah.
can translate it." But yeah, it's it's more than letters, but letters are definitely part of it.
Okay. Yeah, because like when you see it on TV shows, and I think it's Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief. That's the one I'm thinking of. Like at the
Yes.
beginning of the movie when like he's looking at a sentence or something, and like all the letters get rearranged and stuff. That's normally what I think of when I think of like dyslexia because I
That
think that's what he had in the
it
movie.
is.
Like that's what he
That
was diagnosed with.
yeah, Rick Riordan's son is dyslexic, and so that's why he wrote
Oh, okay.
that the way he did. But
Okay.
that's how it can appear for some people. Yeah, like definitely my mom, I think it's the floating numbers or the floating letters. I don't get the floating letters. I don't get them like that. I don't see them backwards. That's part of why I wasn't diagnosed as a child.
Mm.
But there's a lot of other things that I get. For example, if I typo, I will visually not see the typo. Like no matter how many times I reread it, it just reads the right way to me. And then somebody will like screenshot it and circle it. And then all of a sudden it's like this veil lifts and I can see
Mm.
it. And I'm like, you motherfucking camouflaged letters. So
Uh, well, that
it
kind of leads into our next question, which is how does dyslexia affect your writing, which you've kind of
just
touched on a
in a
bit
gra-
already.
yeah, just in a grammar and technical aspect. That's it. Which is why if you are dyslexic or you have dyslexia, it's really important to have a critique partner who understands that about you and who understands how to go about helping you. Now, my Fox is my alpha critique partner, basically. He sees everything before anybody else does. And I don't know I don't think he really had a lot of experience with anybody who was dyslexic before my writing, but he understands me well enough, and he understands my writing well enough at this point to where he'll be able to, he sees where it's a typo versus where it's probably my dyslexia fucking up. And when it's my dyslexia fucking up, he'll like phrase it as, "Did you mean this?" And then I'll be like, "Ah, I did." So
And again, I guess that leads us into the last question that I have, which is what kind of tips would you have for parents or writers who are struggling with dyslexia, which you already mentioned the beta readers and critique partners.
Oh no, beta readers do not
No, no.
help with your dyslexia at all.
Oh,
By the time
just
it gets
the
to your betas, anything that your dyslexia fucked up should already be fixed. That's
okay.
your critique partners only. Yeah, if you get to the beta stage and your dyslexia fucked with something, that's your critique partners did not do a good job helping you. Yeah, I do think you should tell your editor that you're dyslexic. That way, they might, if they have experience with dyslexic people or something, they may be able to give you tips. I don't know. I haven't got there yet, but that is my dream. As far as parents go, just like pay attention. And I would Google, there's childhood signs of dyslexia. It's a little complicated though, because a lot of childhood signs of learning disorders could also just very easily be a thing that they do at that stage. My kids go to public school, and they actually have a team that keeps an eye on all symptoms, just like across the board. So, like in the kid's file, it says that their mother is dyslexic and they have a long history of dyslexia in the family, and that so to keep an eye on it. But they're keeping an eye on like all of the learning disorders. So like, you know, they look for the signs that if they're autistic or if they're dyslexic or if maybe they have dyscalculia, ADHD. What's the other, ADD?
Yeah.
I'm like letters, dyslexic. My worst nightmare. So they keep an eye, because so many of those things have overlapping symptoms that they don't want to misdiagnose any of the kids. So they just kind of keep an eye out for it, and they just try to address each symptom as it shows up. For example, our youngest, she can write backwards or forwards. And in the video calls, her teacher realized it because on camera, she could read it forwards, and she's like, "Wait, it shouldn't look like that." And it was a struggle to get Roxy to understand she needed to write it forwards so we could see that she writes it forwards. And she's already like writing her fives and her S's backwards, which is something that my mom is a symptom of my mom's dyslexia. So also understand that each case of dyslexia is specific to the individual. There's overlapping symptoms, but as like you've probably already caught on, I'll say this is my symptom or this is so and so symptom. So these are things that we might do or things that we might display at varying degrees, but it really is different for each individual. They tried to subcategorize dyslexia, which I talk about in one of my videos on dyslexia. I cannot remember the subcategories right now, but I was just like reading through them, and I was like, oh my gosh, it gets so specific. There's like one that's dyslexic for if you read something and then you try to remember what you read and you can't remember what you read. And I was like, oh my God, that's a thing. So like that might explain why some days I have a lot harder time regurgitating my scripts on camera. Yeah, so just research, so much research, and not being afraid to ask for help is a big thing.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah, we have a lot of issues in our family too. Like so my oldest, he has, okay, well, before we do that, I'm just gonna add the banner here saying we're open to questions. We don't have any right now, so I'm just gonna start blabbering. But so my oldest, he has like a heart defect, so we have
Mhm.
that to deal with. And then my second, he was diagnosed with ASD. ASD, yeah. So
Autism spectrum disorder.
yeah, that's it. I'm making sure I had the letters in the right order. Yeah, so he has autism. Yeah, so like the day he got tested though, he was having like an amazing day. So his diagnosis is like really low on the spectrum, but he has like days where he's like way up there and it's bad. Cuz he has issues. I think I talked about it in like one of my live streams randomly. But he has issues comprehending emotion. So like if someone's crying, he doesn't really know how to react to that. There's been times when like someone's crying in front of him and he starts laughing because he just doesn't know what to do. And he doesn't know how to express his own like anger or anything. So he'll like start hitting people and he doesn't understand why. And so we have to like calm him down and stuff. So there's that. And then my daughter doesn't have anything wrong that we know of yet. We call her the normal child right now.
As long as that we know of.
Yeah. And then they all three of them plus my husband have another heart defect that's like genetic that we didn't know they had until like after my first son's second surgery. So that was fun to find out. So yeah, so like it's always interesting to like just randomly find out that there's stuff happening that you didn't know about, and then like just to like learn about stuff and research and have to ask questions all the time and be like, is this okay? Should I be worried? And yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. We still have no questions and we have like so much time.
It just needs time. We can do what we want.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to say, like elaborate on any of the questions or anything like that?
I'm having brain fog. If it was more than 2 seconds ago, I don't remember talking about it.
All right. Oh, then we could just go through all the questions again. I'm kidding. We're not doing that.
Well, I had, because I asked in some places if anybody had questions. So I've got a lot of things. Yeah. So, like, does being a parent influence how or what you write? Like, the person who sent this question in knows a parent who can't write child death scenes anymore. Since becoming a parent. So, has that affected you at all?
Me?
Yeah. I can answer while you think.
So. Yeah, you go ahead. You answer.
It has not affected me at all. I will still murder all the children I feel like murdering to make my audience cry. On a flip side, my sister, however, who is a forever aunt, she has become more sentimental and more sensitive to things like that, but not me. I think in part because I wanted to be a mom since I was 5, so I already had that and I was always the mom friend, so I always had that in me. And so it's just like becoming a mom didn't really change anything other than I now have one of my own. So
yeah, I don't think it's affected me at all either. Like I don't think I've really been in the situation though where in a story I actually have to kill a child. You know, like I just haven't been I haven't given myself that opportunity to like experience that or not yet. So but I don't think so. I don't think I would struggle with that. There's definitely days where my children like annoy me to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to kill a character before I kill someone in real life. Like
that's why I play video games.
Yeah, my brother gets me to do that too. We play video games like on PC and stuff all the time. But it's not like so we would play Halo, right? And so like I would shoot things. But I feel like I express my anger better when I play like scary games because then I get so scared that I forget that I'm angry and it just kind of works out better.
What works.
Yep.
Nothing horror scares me. So I mean, it's one of my favorite genres. I just don't get scared by it. So, but yeah. I love to watch Chris play horror games because he gets very scared very easily, and that's highly entertaining for me.
Yeah. I think it's more just the fact that like I want to unlock the achievements where it's like you've lived for so long, and I can never unlock those because I die so easily.
No.
And so I'm just like, oh my god, I hear someone. I need to get out of here. Like every time I'm like, no, 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 no. It's just me running around like screaming no. Like, don't kill me, please.
That's me in a regular video game too. Ah, no shit! Fight! Ah, gotta run! Gotta run! Gotta run!
Yeah, like so we would play Phasmophobia, which is like a scary ghost game, and like every time I would die from the ghost, I'd be like, for fuck's sake, and I'm just like cursing and I'm like, ah, just so upset. And then there's times where I'm just standing there and I'm like, okay, just kill me. I'm done. I'm just done.
I'm done with today. Just murder me.
Yep. We still have no questions. Oh my goodness. I have a small following though, so it doesn't really surprise me that I have no questions. Like we have 2 people watching. Hi, 2 people. Ask us questions.
Do you have a pen name for publishing specifically because you're a parent, or is that not a worry?
So I have a pen name technically. Like, so I publish under my maiden name, but it doesn't really have anything to do with my kids. It's more just why?
I said, so do I.
Oh, so do you. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's really about my kids though. It was more the fact that like Duvenvoorde sounded more like unique opposed to Thompson.
Yeah,
And
same marketability. Nasset's
yeah.
a much less common name than Ortiz is.
Mm.
So I just went with Samantha L. Nasset because like there's only 2, maybe 3 Samantha Nassets in the USA, and neither of the others have the middle name L. Well, letter to, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes, I am the only one now. It didn't. If anything, I think more people can find me because who know my maiden name will be like, because I'm the only one. Like, yes, I know that bitch. I went to high school with her. So
yeah.
That's not a concern for me. It does limit certain things I post so that people can't find me.
Yeah. Part of so when I was like trying to figure out if I wanted to do Thompson or Duvenvoorde, it was like before we even got married, because we got married last year. And so this was like 4 or 5 years before that, because I was being published in an anthology, and I was like, okay, I need to figure out if I'm going to go with my maiden name, which is the name I had currently then, or if I'm going to like look to the future and do Thompson. And so part of the thing I did was I like Googled myself. And
yes,
so
always.
yeah. And so the only things that popped up were Queen Elizabeth, and then there's a castle in Holland because that's where the Duvenvoorde family comes from. And there's like a Duvenvoorde castle. So those were the only 2 things that kind of popped up. And I was like, cool, I'm going with that because I have no competition except for the Queen. And I don't think she's going to be publishing dark fantasy anytime soon. So
secretly she does, just under a different name so nobody can find her. Yeah, if you Google me, it's just all my author stuff. So
yeah, well, now if you look up my name, it's just all my stuff. So I'm fine with that.
Even before when you Googled me, it was just me, and I think the other Samantha Nasset works in publishing. So I'm like, lady, stranger from across the country that I'm probably related to. Let us work together.
All right, what's another question on your list?
How do you find inspiration when you're tired?
I sleep. I struggle when I'm tired.
If I'm tired, so I have different forms of tired. If I'm just physically tired, I can still write. It doesn't bother me. I'm like never uninspired to write. Whether or not I have energy, though, because again, I have chronic migraines, and one of the things there is fatigue. If I have no energy, nothing is happening. And if I try to write when I have no energy, I just end up frustrated and upset with myself, and that's not good for anybody. Now, when I was trying to make sure that I wrote monthly and everything. Sometimes I would stay up late, or a lot of people will get up early in the morning to like write while their kids are still asleep or something, and I'm like, I can't do that because when I first get up, that's like all my physical chore energy. So mornings are like reserved for house chores, or at the moment, the kids in school. And then my evenings is when, like, I don't know, my body flips a switch and it's like, we're not doing anything physical anymore, only mental jobs. Unless it's been a while since the house has been, because, sometimes you get behind on the house, and then I will like just clean from 1 to 4 a.m. in the morning, and then I'm like, yes, my house is good, and I pass out. But yeah, like, I wish I could have more tips, but honestly, it's just be kind to yourself and understand that you're raising human beings who depend on you to survive and exist. So if the writing has to wait, it has to wait.
Yeah, I guess I would kind of be the same. Like I am definitely not a morning person. Um I had joined, I don't know if you know Daniel Wilcox, but he does like this writing boot camp thing. And so it happens on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and they have like it's there's 2 times a day, and so it's like the first one starts at like 6 a.m. my time, which would be like 7 a.m. your time. And
No,
then
other way around.
okay, other way around. So 5 a.m. your time. I
Yes.
don't know. But it's like crazy early and I am not a morning person. And when he told me that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, right? And so I got up at 6 a.m. every single day. That way I knew I would be up for his boot camp. And I was so burnt out after that month. Like I couldn't do any writing all of February because I had done it all in January. It was just, I couldn't do it. And so then this month I was like, okay, I'm only going to the afternoon ones because I just can't with the morning. Like just waking up in the morning takes so much energy and so much like of just pushing myself to get up. Like, okay, I have to get up, otherwise the kids aren't going to school, kind of thing. And they need
Yes.
to go to school because otherwise they're going to drive me insane.
I feel
It's
that.
true. Yeah. But yeah, so like I tried the whole morning thing. It just didn't work for me. I'm more of a night person. But even now, like I think I'm just an exhausted pigeon, honestly, because like nighttime is like just starting to get out of the question too. Like I'll stay up and it's pretty much to the point where like if I don't go to bed by 10, I'm not going to bed till 2 a.m. Like that's just
I
how I am
feel
right now.
that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that deep, deep in my soul.
Yeah. But yeah, so like um yeah, the tired thing. So if I'm like physically tired, but I can still write, I don't know. I feel like there's 2 different types of physically tired too, because it's like
Yeah, there's
I'm
like
kind of tired, I can still write, but like if my eyelids are like physically like shutting themselves, then I have issues. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously I can't write if I'm falling asleep. But
yes.
then there's also like the mentally tired where I just can't do anything. Like I can barely watch TV because I'm so tired. But like I'm not physically tired. I'm just mentally like done with the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to send myself a picture to post on Insta. But yeah, no, I totally agree, and like that's the thing, is knowing and identifying those types of tired. And if it's a thing where you just really have to prioritize yourself. If you feel like, because every now and then I will get to where I haven't written in a while and I just need to write in order to feel mentally okay, then it's like that's when you go out of your way and you do the desperate thing and you just, live without sleep. Or for me, I have my sister come over or something, and so it's just like, hey, I don't exist for this day, children, there's other adults, leave me alone. But I'm a stay-at-home mom, so most of the time that kids are my priority. And I realized part of the reason, because like last year I didn't have to take any hiatuses for my health, but I realized it was in part because last year they were in traditional school, so I recorded when they were in class. Whereas now I have to stay up to record, or I get up early to record, and that's just not working as well for me.
Yeah.
So it's like, so now I have to take longer breaks because them being home disrupts all the things. But
Yeah,
it's
I
okay.
feel that.
I love them.
Yeah, when my kids were home, I had to do all my recording on like Saturdays because that's kind of ever since January, that's kind of like the day I've carved out for doing anything extremely work related. Like that's when I have most of my meetings and everything. Like I call them meetings, but they're like FaceTime calls and stuff, either with friends or with like I don't know, random people like this or something. But normally that happens on like Saturdays and um yeah, so ever since then I would like do all my recordings then, but now that they're back in school, I'm able to do the recordings during the week. But then my Saturdays are still like so booked for some reason. I don't know why, but they're just like always there's always a million things and I'm like,
Yes.
how does
Oh,
this work?
I feel that. It's like, yes, I'm definitely going to do this thing on this day. And then that day gets there and somebody's like, yeah, so we're going to go do, or we're doing this thing, right? And I'm like, are we? Did I commit to that? Did I? Damn
Yeah.
it. Normally I use my Clever Fox planner and then I don't have an issue. But like, I've been so out of it. I haven't even kept up with that. And it hurts my soul.
Yeah. Yeah, I just put everything in my calendar on my phone and I'm like, okay, I have like so many things to do and it's all back to back to back to back to back. Oh, look, there's like an hour slot here. I'm going to have a nap and maybe eat
Goodness.
something. But it's nice because some of the things are like writing sprints or something, either like ones that are happening on YouTube where I'm like, okay, I need to do this because I need to get writing done, or it's like the boot camp where I have to actually like be on camera and be like, hey, I'm present. I'm paying to be here. Hi. So like that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of a like mashup and it's nice because I can do part of the sprints and then just kind of retire early and take a break and then mentally prepare myself for the next thing. And I don't know, it's just easier if I have to, if I'm able to, if I have things that I have to do and then things that's like a little more flexible with doing. I find it kind of easy, even though it looks like there's a lot to do that day. There is and there isn't a lot because
Yeah, I
I
get
also,
that.
I've, we have this thing on my channel where I'm like a procrastinator and it's well known now like just how much of a procrastinator I am. So like I'll have videos that have to come out on like the Sunday or Monday and I don't edit the video or make the thumbnail until like the Saturday. And so it's like the day or two before and it's like, okay, well I got to do this otherwise it's not happening this week.
I am not a procrastinator, so if like I've already started planning my April live streams, but if anything happens or is late, then everybody knows it was the brain fog or it was
Yeah.
because I wasn't feeling well. So I was like, ah, shit, I need to do all the things now. But also, I love paperwork, so I like to organize things. And
Yeah.
then I had a relevant point with that, and then I forgot it, and now I'm like, why the fuck did I say that? Anyway, that was my brain disengaging for a moment, just long enough.
That's fun. I feel like there was at one point when we were talking and I'm like, I was talking and I'm like, I had a point to this, but I don't remember what it is. Okay, make something up.
Oh,
Go.
I hate that. That's
Yeah.
like so a good way to like also that sorry, this was connected but not at the same time. So brain fog is very similar to pregnancy brain,
Mm.
but just like all the time and 10 times worse. So you know how like when you're pregnant and you get up to go pee and then like you make it halfway there and you're like, what the fuck was I doing? So you go back about your day and then like a half hour later you may have finally made it to the bathroom. That's brain fog just all the time.
Yep. When I was pregnant with my daughter, so my youngest, I was working at Walmart and I had pregnancy brain all the time and I had to physically write down everything I needed to do during that like chunk of my shift, like between my two breaks. Otherwise I would forget something. and I would just like be walking, and I'd be like, "What was I supposed to do again?" And then I would have like a box that I had to stock like in my hand, and I'd be like, "What am I doing?" And people would be like, "Are you gonna stock that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll go do that now."
It's like, why do I have this?
Okay, so I think we're at the end now, right? Like I'm not getting times confused again.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can people
end of
find you?
They can find me at Samantha Nasset on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. You can also check out my website, samanthanassett.com, which has links to all my socials and all the things. Eventually, it'll have my live stream schedule up one day. But yes.
Right, and all her links are in the description down below, along with the link to our next live stream, which will be her interviewing me over on her channel. I keep saying her. Your name is Sam.
Well, it's a let's talk, so it's more like it's a collaborative discussion, which will be between me, you, and Chris, whom is my husband. So he'll bring in the dad writing perspective, or a dad writing perspective. But yes,
nice. All right, so I guess that's all we have for right now. We will see you guys in half an hour after our break. Well, I say you guys, we have one viewer. I will see you after the break. And anyone who's watching this on replay, we will see you in the future. All right. Bye.